He didn't ask to carry this weight. He just kept walking, trying to find his place, trying to find peace. But even in the wilderness, God was calling him deeper. Brotherhood meets him where he is, shoulder to shoulder, with prayer, with truth, with healing. Because no man is meant to walk this journey alone. And when identity is restored, legacy begins. Sons run home. Families are made whole. Arise, Kings, a day of legacy, identity, and healing. California, May 30th, 2025. This is your invitation, your moment to rise. Arise, Kings. It's time.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am excited to host this powerful, exciting conversation as we prepare for the Arise Kings Wellness Summit on May 30th at the Irvin Johnson Magic Park. This is going to be a transformative day focused on legacy. We're focusing on identity and healing for men and their families. And today you're going to get an exclusive look into the hearts of the men who will be speaking at the event. These aren't just panelists. They are sons of God. They are leaders, warriors who have walked through real battles and carry some real wisdom. So as you all listen, I pray that you're encouraged, you're inspired, and reminded that God is still raising up kings in this generation. So we're going to get deeper, we're going to get real, and we're going to meet the men behind this mantle. So I'm excited to welcome one of our panelists. We have Jasir Franklin. Hello, Jasir. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
I am doing wonderful. So excited to have you here. So I just want you to tell the people a little bit about yourself and about your business, Heal PTHD.
Well, PTSD stands for post-traumatic hood disorders. What we do is we teach the community about dealing with and overcoming hood-based traumas because traumas in the hood they just get overlooked and normalized and become a part of our everyday walk and then see our everyday relationships, everyday actions, habits, everything else. But it's all rooted in hood-based trauma. So we have courses and classes and lectures and summits and all kind of stuff that's dealing with that.
That's exciting and so innovative because, generally when people hear, PTSD, we're thinking post traumatic stress syndrome. But I love how you're focusing literally on hood based trauma. Something that, a lot of people kind of just minimize or, like you said, normalize what, the experience of those that may live in an inner city and not really looking at the impact. But I'm just curious, Jashir, what really encouraged you or inspired you to really even look at that facet of, of a need to look at hood-based trauma?
Uh, I was my own first student client, everything. I grew up in South Central LA, so I took a lot of that away from there with me. And no matter where I went, college, marriages, whatever, I just was trying to figure out how and why I kept going through this cycle and went to some stuff before. And then when I went through that counseling, I put all my life on the table. And that was the first time I got a chance to look at it. And then I traced it back to where it came from. I mean, the neighborhood I grew up in, the household I grew up in, um, normalization of all kind of stuff, like being a baby's father or something. Like there was a lot of things that was just normal. Not having a father was became normal, but it wasn't normal because the from that situation all through me. So I had to become my own first client, and when I figured it out, I was like, this is why a lot of the people that act the way they act where we come from, where I come from at least. This is why we listen to certain music and why we function the way we function because this trauma is not even identified. It's just like I said, normalized and minimized as if it's just regular life, and it's not supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so profound, and it sounds like you took that step of courage, like you said, to seek. For you, it was counseling, and like you said, to put your life on the table, and to even to look at, maybe what you've experienced, to look at it from a different perspective, not of one of this is just how it should be, but wait a minute, there could be some dysfunction, and I'm choosing to look at it and do something different. So that's just really powerful. And I think it just takes a level of courage for so many people just to allow themselves to go back and to kind of look at life and see, wait a minute, where do we need to kind of tweak some things or get a better understanding? And I really believe that this is what our event is about, is again to help individuals to be able to, look at their lives, from where they are and looking at it to where they're wanting to go, and to be able to access and to receive a lot of the services that will be provided for them in their particular community. So my next question for you is, when you hear the word arise kings, what automatically kind of just comes into your mind? Arise kings.
Um, a title, I think it was called the Family Reunion movie, where essentially Tyson is talking to the youth because they were walking the courtyard or the property, and they saw all the youth just in dismay. Uh, he was telling the men to rise up again, to take
Mm,
their, which to me speaks to the fact that men have fallen into a sunken place, and a call to have them rise back up is very. But the question is, how does that look
mhm,
for me? I have a concept like, what does that actually look like? Do we have a roadmap to what that looks like? Do we understand what it is? Do we know what a king is actually? Have we ever been
mm,
a prince to become a king? There's all kind of questions in that for me.
mhm. So it sounds like for you, because the reception is kind of going in and out a little bit. But what I kind of gathered from that, it sounds like that title just evoked many questions. What does that look like? You said, what does it look like to arise? What does that even look like to be a king? So profound, because we take it for granted that, yeah, these are words that people understand. And I think it goes back to the premise you also said, just kind of going back to the hood based trauma, things that have been normalized, accepted, like this is just what we're going to do. We take for granted that the word arise, like we know what to do with it. And also, what does that mean to be a king? Because for some people, that is not even something that's in their vocabulary. So I just think that was just a great aha moment. But if you were to explain to someone to arise king, and that's the youth and the individuals in the community, and based on that movie you were referring to, how would you even describe that to someone, or for men to rise
How would
up
I describe
from?
the king?
Go ahead. Oh, you're going in and out,
Hello?
Jasir. Are you able to hear me?
I am. Your screen is going black too every now and then.
Okay. Yeah. So did you hear the question, or do you need me to repeat it?
Yeah, can you repeat it real quick?
Yeah, yeah. The question is, you brought up a lot of good points about, the title of Rise and King. And maybe for a lot of people, they may not even understand what they're even asked to do, to arise. Like, what does that look like? What does that mean? You talked about there's not being a roadmap for it, because there's not, right? And the word king, again, not something that is words that we use often. You may just look, hear it in a movie, or in other countries, but we're asking men to walk into that title. So how would you describe to someone, whether it's a youth or someone in the community that you're working with, how would you describe that understanding or that call for them to arise into the identity that God has called them to be, that they can arise into the healing that's available for them, arise to accepting of the resources that's available for them? How would you explain that to someone?
That's a good question. I would say you first got to start with humanity. Number one, understand that you king is, and then because again, growing up in the hood, we don't see kings. We just see people. They may have things, and that doesn't make you a king. Just because you can work and have money doesn't make you a king. Is balanced, standing. A king is truthful and honest. A king is humble. A king is hopeful. All kind of things that basically stems back at what his morals are. What is his
Mm-hmm.
character like? Like a king has to appeal to his kingdom. He has to be able to move people, and you can't move just money things. And the majority of
Mm-hmm.
them come from an environment that believes that money is the root of all kingdoms,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of better words. But that's not because you can't move things. But getting divorced every day, got money. That
Mm-hmm.
got, that's not the answer. The answer is how do you motivate people to follow you? What do you do? How does that work? And how have you cultivated that?
Mm-hmm. Did you put okay?
That makes sense.
No, yeah, because I don't know our reception is kind of going in and out. But what I'm able to hear is like you said, a king is definitely something that it's not a word that we use often, but a king is someone that's has morals and values. That's a leader that can lead people, and despite however much money you have or whatever your status is, that doesn't necessarily equate walking in that role and title. And I definitely agree with that. And I think for a lot of men in particular, the labels in society have been opposite of that call to be a leader, that call to be you know someone in their family that somebody can rely on, that can be dependable, that can have those morals and values. So based upon maybe trauma, whether it could be based on, like you said, being not having a father, having a role model, a lot of people start to morph into what they think they should become, or based on maybe what society says, based on what the media says, and it minimizes their true identity of being that leader, to be that person that God created them to be. Before we even before our family even knew us. But it's just allowing people to literally understanding who they are and who they are called to be. And I think for me, it stems from identity. And for a lot of people, again, it's not something that's a conversation that we always have, but I think it's a necessary conversation. And again, the purpose of this summit is just to literally allow people to understand you are not your trauma, you are not your environment, you are not what you lack. You truly are called to be great. And I'm hoping with this event, and that's my next question, is to really allow men to see people that may have look like them, may have been in different or similar experiences as them, and how they can walk into a different alternative, and not just be limiting based upon their experience, but let them see some level of hope. So that really ties into the next question. Why do you think this type of meeting, this type of summit, this type of wellness event is important for men and their families?
Uh, Being honest, I think that a lot of men don't know how to lead a household. And I think the more we have these conversations and we provide spaces like this for men to be vulnerable and honest, as long as they're willing to do so, it's
Mm-hmm.
necessary for the families to build. Without the man being whole and understanding of what his position is, Again, like I said, you can come in there and pay the bills, bro, but that's not gonna make this woman follow you all the way to the end of the road. That's not it. It's not gonna make your kids want to get in line with you, and for you to see them turn out the way you know they should turn out. You want out. I think these conversations are necessary as long as we're being truthful and honest and not spitting out a bunch of bumper stickers. As long as we're
Mm-hmm.
being truthful and honest about what it really is, like men don't know how to be men. If we're in households by women, then how did you learn how to be?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know how to be a father when you never been seen one? How you know how to be a
Mm-hmm.
husband when you never been one? Then we got to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, I've never seen this, and I'm glad we're having this conversation so that somebody that can talk to us and get kind of to our we can create who we would like to be, and that is a good husband, a father, hopefully a leader in our community, not only to our own families but the community around us.
No, and yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying, and what you're saying is that a lot of men, are called to be a title, and they haven't had that um, example. So hopefully, with events like this, is to be able to showcase this is an option. This is a reality, and I love how you talked about really being transparent, with people and not, like you said, just saying things that sound good to the ear, but not walking it. So really establishing platforms for these men to be vulnerable, to feel safe, to allow maybe whatever walls that they may have had up because of people saying that this is what they're going to do or providing for them, but they don't necessarily do it. So I'm definitely one of the goals of this event is to provide that level of transparency, and that's why our panels of discussion was really vetted really well, because we're wanting people to be able to be open because they've had various walks, various ups and downs and valleys that they had to overcome, but to be able to be open and transparent with men and their families of this is what I went through, and this is what I utilize. These are resources, and these were some things that I kept maybe falling from, but there is hope. And I think, that level of transparency, openness is something that we're definitely wanting to be able to speak to these to our community, so people can feel a level of trust, and hopefully at the end of the day, a sense of community. And I'm sharing with everyone, we're not just wanting this event to be a weekend or one day event. Let this be a lifestyle, a journey of being great, to be able to be, like you said, the husband, the father, the friend, that community person, that they can be continuously, and not just to get all excited for one day and there's nothing else. So we want to make sure we have resources. We want to make sure that there's community engagement that will follow thereafter. So I think you definitely brought up some really good points with that. Yeah. And then another question: what do you hope the men in the room will walk away with, after being a part of this event? What do you hope that they will leave, holding on to?
The truth that
Mm.
they really don't know what it is. That's a hard thing for a man to admit. For me, it broke me. It came to me when I got a divorce for the second time, and I had to look at myself like, why? And I had to admit that, I didn't know what I was doing. I
Mm-hmm.
had no idea what a father was. I had no idea what a husband was because I grew up in a household with a stepfather that had kids by 8 women,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
about 12 of them. Why I didn't know it because I didn't know that. So me thinking that I'm going to get married to someone and then be a great husband I never seen that. I don't know what that is. If we come from these spaces and we come from the hood, like I said, we got to be vulnerable enough. I want people to walk away with understand it's okay with not knowing. That's how you figure it
Mm-hmm.
out. God, you think you know everything? It's
Mm-hmm.
impossible. step into place and get you assistance when you already think you know it all. So
Mm-hmm.
them walking the ability to understand I don't know, that's all we can ask for. That way they can go seek. They can receive help and receive assistance, guidance from somebody as on their journey. But if they walk in the room and leave the way they came, whole another issue.
Yeah. That now that's touching my soul. And I love how you said you're wanting them to walk away with it's okay to not know. It's okay to have questions. It's okay to be
Mm-hmm.
open in the safe environment. It's okay to be safe over here. Because through that process, there's a level of receptivity of the information that's going forth. And it kind of just literally lessens the wall, takes that wall down for them to really be open to the resources. So that is my prayer. Yeah, that these men can literally walk, even if they're guarded coming in, they can at least just be open to the process. They can be open to hope, be open to receiving resources and support in a community that actually is rooting for them. And like you said, that level of openness can definitely open up a level of transparency for them to even be able to say, "Hey, I got questions," or let
Mm-hmm.
me hear what somebody talked about, or what Jasir said about on marriage. I can relate to that. Like, I think it's so many people that can relate to our stories. But again, it takes that level of transparency to even be open so somebody can even connect. So again, those are definitely things that we are wanting to invite and to create that atmosphere of openness, a safe place for men to open up, to not feel demonized, to not feel judged. And again,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to not know. Okay. And then our last question, how can communities better support men in their healing, in their growth, and as leaders? What can we do as a community to better support the men in our communities?
I had an event about, I think it was around, it was Black History Month, I believe it was, in February. And I had an event where it was called Don't Talk Just, and
What
I
was the name
had
of it?
men come out and
What was the name of it? Don't talk. What was it?
talk, just listen,
Okay.
right? And it was geared towards women and men. So the men came out and the women came out but couldn't talk. They had to just listen. They couldn't speak. And then the men came out with the women and did the same thing. What I realized is that women at times don't like to listen to us.
Mm,
They don't
mm,
like to just be able to hear us. They listen to us objective to read or disagree with what's being
mm,
by the man. So my suggestion would be for the community at large and our women, learn how to just listen to men because then you will hear why your man is acting in life or acting in a certain way. We just never been
mhm,
listened to.
mm.
Be honest, like
That's
people don't. Most homeless, no one cares. If a man is stressed out, people don't really care. No one
mm,
check. No, not too many people on the man when he's going through stresses or he loses his job or he has a job and it has a whole. People just think that are just superheroes and we can just carry all this weight. And that's why we
mm,
die before almost before our women die because we live a stressful life that nobody checks in on us.
mhm, mm,
So my suggestion would be, if you really want to see men change, just listen to men in your life. Learn how to
mhm,
just listen because he's not acting that way for no reason. He's not
mhm,
going after chasing for no reason. He's not going to the bar and getting that bourbon. He's not doing the things that he's doing just because he feels like it. It's a reason why. Those things escape because nobody else is going to listen to him.
mm, mm. That I'm just like, that is spot on. That is spot on. And that's literally one of the reasons for this event, is to provide that opportunity for men to be heard, for them to be seen, for them to be validated. Because I think you are spot on. A lot of times, again, the definition of manhood, masculinity, a lot of times has to do with what they can do, how they can provide. And it's very driven by how they can perform. But like you said, who's stopping just to check in on them, to say, how was your day? How do you feel? And just to be able to stop and listen, and not having to try to have an answer. Because I think a lot of times when we care and love for people, we want to fix things, we want to do something. But a lot of times from what I'm hearing you say is just listen. Allow them to be able to vent. Allow them to be able just to, again, be transparent and just be quiet. So I'm hoping that as this event unfolds, this day that is literally designed for this man, that they can feel that sense of somebody is listening to me. Nobody expects anything from me. And again, after this event is over, there's places where I can still be safe, and to still being able to heal, to feel like their support. And I love how you said the women, the people in their lives, the community, the people that are in the community, how they can continue to support them, whether that's just a check-in, just to seeing how they're doing. Because as you talked about, the rates for suicide is just, unfortunately, has increased. And a lot of times people just don't feel like there's anybody that's there to listen to them. They just feel like they have to carry this burden on their shoulders. And one of the purposes of the Arise King Summit is to let the men know you can put that luggage down. Somebody else can be there to also to be able to help you carry it. And we hear you, and you're not alone. So so as we just with our panels of discussions in particular, literally a space for men, and we as women, we as those in the community, again, to support them, not to overshadow, not to, again, try to fix it, not trying to do what, trying to make them do what we want them to do, but to literally just be able to be a support. And so I think what you're talking about is really tying into the purpose, of this event and what we're hoping to achieve at the event and post-event, because we want to continue on with these conversations. We want to continue on with these supports. So I applaud you for the work that you're doing to continue to have these conversations, within the community, and help people to communicate and to give voice, to the men that maybe feel voiceless. So I do appreciate that. Yeah. So those are the questions that I have. I want to see if there's any last minute comments, thoughts that you want to share before we end. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being able to share, talk a little bit about you, the wonderful work you're doing within the community. But I'm just going to see if you want to have any last minute thoughts, comments before I let you go.
I can't hear anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you had a look of, I don't know. Okay. So what we're going to do, let me just close this out. Again, I thank you for your time. Are you able to hear now? Are you able to hear or no? No?
Yeah, I totally can't hear now.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate this space. And I'm excited to have you a part of our panel. And we will see you May 30th at the Urban Magic Johnson Park from 11 to 4. Thank you so much.
He didn't ask to carry this weight. He just kept walking, trying to find his place, trying to find peace. But even in the wilderness, God was calling him deeper. Brotherhood meets him where he is, shoulder to shoulder, with prayer, with truth, with healing, because no man is meant to walk this journey alone. And when identity is restored, legacy begins. Sons run home, families are made whole. Arise, Kings, a day of legacy, identity, and healing. California, May 30th, 2025. This is your invitation, your moment to rise. Arise, Kings. It's time.